بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين وهو خير ناصر ومعين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Spiritual Perspectives, a series of program that is dedicated towards our youth, to gear them, to inform them about the challenges that Islam faces here in the West. As we recently also have given programs that were looking at the Islamic spirituality and thought. That was our last program that we gave, and we'll be continuing on it on this in a series of program. And tonight we'll be talking about Islamic science, Islam as a contribution, which is not only just a religion, which is also a basis of a vast civilization. It has provided the academic field, the modern sort of scientific advancement that we have today is due to the fact of the investigation or the inventions or the ideas that were prompted by the Arabs, by the Persians, or by Muslims, if you want to call, as they were all rooted in the very Islamic science, in the very Islamic teachings in the Quran and the Sunnah. If you look at today, the first people, or the known to be those who invented flying machine, the Wright brothers, they are actually not. It was really a Muslim who had thought of a flying machine, and due to this fact, it led to the Wright brothers to really reach that sort of understanding, to really come up with a flying machine, with an aeroplane. So we tend to see that many of the Greek knowledge have been translated into Arabic. And many Orientalists also acknowledge the fact that the Muslim civilization or the Arabs were responsible to build a bridge between the Greeks and also the modern era that we have today. But that's not seem to be the case. Yes, there is a lot of translation that took place in the institution which was established by Imam Rashid, which was known as Baytul Hikmah, and in where Greek, Sanskrit, and also Syriac, Pahlavi, different languages were translated into Arabic, and things were added, critics were provided to that. As a matter of fact, if you look at the very first philosopher in Islam, was supposed to be known as Al-Kindi, which happened to be during the time of Mutawakkil, those who are familiar with that name, one of the Abbasis Khalifas. So we tend to see that the translations have taken place, but it is not a continuation of the Greek science, or it is not even a link between the Western and the Greek science the Arabs have provided or the Muslims have provided, but rather it is an independent way of studying phenomena, causality, studying its relationship with various forms of objects, from minerals to plants to animals, to basically the universe that surrounds us. It's studied independently, and the source of all of this becomes the very Quran. For example, if you look at how the Islamic philosophers have looked about the harakat, the movement of the substance, which is known as the harakat-e-jawhariya, which was a quite unique term coined by the 16th century philosopher Sadruddin Shirazi. So we tend to see that the Muslim scientists, they have approached its various subjects from the point of view where their goal and their purpose, the beginning and its end, is in that mabda, is in that source which is divine, which is God. So whenever they are examining Johar, substance, or whenever they are examining a specific species, for them the source of it is God and the end of it is God. So that really changed the whole ball game, the whole approach towards this reality that is around them. So no doubt the very first works that we see that came into existence or came into translation by the hands of Muslims during the time of Ma'mun, during the time of Abbasi Khalifa. We have the important works of Euclid, the Pythagorean school concerning nature. This was also introduced, this was also translated. Things that contributions of optics was seen by Euclid, that we have seen being translated into Arabic, and it came into at the hands of the Muslims. Then not only just the Arabic, even the Sanskrit sort of translation took place, and especially in the field of mathematics. The use of decimal system that we have in the West is because of Musa al-Khawarizmi. Khawarizmi was a Persian individual, Iranian, from the eastern city near Caspian Sea, and he introduced that system of decimal system. Indeed, yes, it came from Sanskrit, the numerals, and later its transformation, which began or by the Muslims, and created a final product which was known as the Arabic numerals, and then eventually in Europe, and the use of the decimal system was provided. So the numerals and the decimal system that we have in Europe today is ended to the Arabs, is ended to the Muslims. Yes, came from Sanskrit, but it was further developed. It was further taken on a different level, and then it was provided there. Then, which is once again to remember his name is Khawarizmi. Then you have the arithmetic. For example, the book which is known as the Key of Arithmetic, Miftahul Hisab. This was by Al-Ghiyathuddin Jamshid Al-Kashani, who wrote extensive research in the field of number theory, decimal fractions, and in the field of and also and the computation of numerical series. The whole tradition, in the sense of culminating, this was the credit to Jamshid al-Kashani, the book which is referred as the Key of Arithmetic. This person lived during the 8th century of the Islamic century, and then later on geometry, for example, was also began, where the Greek mathematicians and the geometers had left off. They have completely left on a certain level, and then from there there's once again the embarkment or the beginning of a new sort of era, or a new breath, new spirit was given to geometry. In this field you tend to find Khayyam and Tusi, who wrote extensive treatises on Euclidean geometry, treatises by Sheikh Tusi, treatises by Khayyam, with criticism on the Euclidean investigations. Then you also have in the field of mathematics, trigonometry. Muslim trigonometry was introduced, was a systemized the 6 trigonometric functions, which to this day marks their Arabic origin in the Western language. So the trigonometry, the word itself, for example, as we find the jabe, which comes from sinus in Latin, meaning literally pocket or cavity, which is what a jabe means in Arabic. So the first treatise on trigonometry, which deals with this subject, which was as an independent branch in mathematics, was written by Sheikh Nasiruddin Tusi. As you are aware, Sheikh Nasiruddin Tusi, when we look at the other contribution of Sheikh Nasiruddin Tusi, we would look at the establishment of the Najaf Hauza, which was done by Tusi, who is considered to be the founder of the Najaf Hauza, who fled by the attacks of Mongols in Baghdad, where the libraries were destroyed, and from there he fled. This Khaja Nasiruddin Tusi later on becomes the minister of Halaku Khan, and then he was the one who also established the first astronomy, was established by him, and many works. And as a matter of fact, just now we mentioned one of his works in regards to trigonometry, which he has written independently. The algebra itself, if you look at the name itself, which comes from algebra, which is Jabr, which is Jabir, and this we see that the students of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, they contributed. There's a book which is known as which has been translated as the Superman. Imam Jafar as-Sadiq alayhi salam, referring to Imam Jafar as-Sadiq alayhi salam as, because he has contributed towards the sciences such as chemistry, such as mathematics, such as Islamic sciences, theology, philosophy, and so on and so forth. That's why he's considered as a Superman, and there's a book that is written upon him which deals with that. So you have the contribution in mathematics. Then in regards to astronomy, see, astronomy and those who were experts in astronomy, for them, as we said, their approach to the sciences, their approach to the phenomena that was around them, was an approach while focusing upon the origin, while focusing upon the source, where, why, when this came into existence, and the purpose of it, and what would be the final end of this. So it kind of gives a complete picture from the beginning to the end. It is like, its beginning and its end. Now you got to figure it out, what path and what direction it will go to. You have to figure it out what will happen in terms of its sort of development, its sort of reactions, how it transfers or transforms or transcends. So, but the beauty of it is that two major questions are resolved. That is the beginning and that is the end. And what needs to be, come to conclusion to, or what needs to be investigated, is in between part. So if a Muslim scientist, when he approaches a phenomena, his approach begins with a Bismillah. His approach begins with the Subhanallah. His approach begins with Alhamdulillah. So if he discovers a new star, as we are talking about in the field of astronomy, if a Muslim scientist discovers a new star, his first reaction would be Subhanallah, or his first reaction would be Alhamdulillah, that he has done so. So he already have pointed out to, or he already have accepted the beginner. He has already accepted the Mabda, the creator of it. And that brings about a lot of barakah, a lot of blessing, a lot of, a lot of hurdles are resolved. He's unveiled from many realities. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, if men practice taqwa, if they are God-wary, if they are God-conscious, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will unveil the reality for them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send His blessings from the heaven and engulf fountain of barakah. It will ask the earth to bring out the best for this community who is practicing taqwa, who is God-wary and God-conscious. So therefore Muslims, the reason for them, their success and their contribution, there was because of the fact that they accepted the Creator, that they accepted the beginning, and also they had the understanding of its end, and they were looking for the purpose of this very created thing. And that is why we find even in the existential reality, where we ask, where have I come from? Why am I here? And where I am heading to? These are the three very important questions that we really need to answer. If I am here, I have a purpose. And if I am here, if there is a purpose, what is my purpose? And if I fulfill that purpose, what was there for me? And what is the result of this, or the goal of this? So a question that we all ask. So this question applies to each and every discovery and invention that the Muslims, scientists, they approach. And that's why we always say that Muslim scientists will not invent something that will be detrimental to humanity, that will cause havoc, that will destroy humanity, that will destroy life on earth. They will never engage or entertain in such business, even if this business provides them with wealth, but still they will not engage in such business, because for them nature is an amana, it's a trust given by God to them, and they have to take care of this trust. So their approach would be an approach that would be very justifiable to humanity, that will be very justifiable to the environment, and also to God, because they are answerable on the day of judgment. We all are indeed answerable, but we never reflect and we never ponder upon these reality, that how much of my being, my presence, my sitting and standing, my traveling affects the environment. How much what am I really doing to take care of the environment? How much am I really using my gadgets that is really detrimental towards the environment? How much of the energy am I really saving? All of these questions will be asked, and we will be answerable. And that is why the principle of israf, if you look at it as we have. Now, if you look at the astronomy, for example, as we are talking about, obviously you have the Islamic astronomy brought together, from to the traditions of the Babylonian and the Greeks and the Persians and the Indians as well. They studied all of that. They approach all of these sciences well, and also the ancient Arabs as well. You had this, so a synthesis that took place, which was able to establish an astronomy upon a vast foundation. Babylonian Arabs, ancient Arabs, Greeks, Persian, all together, and then you have this, a great, a vaster foundation being laid for the Islamic astronomy. Was laid. Then here, if you look at, you have great astronomers such as Ibn Yunus, and then you have Nasiruddin Tusi once again, and his association in Maragha in the 7th century, and Ulugh observed the Samarkand by Ulugh Beg. A number of other astronomers of the 9th century were composed. All together, they kind of come to establish a very unique sciences in this field. We'll continue in the field of astronomy right after this short break, and also we'll look at the geology and geography, natural history, physics, and medicine, alchemy, and the contribution of Muslims towards these different phenomena. Stay with us, and we'll be right back after this short break.